bring in Brian Baldinger. He'll know it's tough to win this league. He played this league.
He
does have a suit on. I'm trying to start my camera on.
He means business.
He does mean business.
Play the intro music.
Let's go.
He breaks down plays better than anyone.
I mean, this is like Shark Week.
There he is.
And you know what Baker Mayfield is? He's chum. Look at these sharks. You think you're getting away from those 4 angry sharks? It's Shark Week. It's time to eat. Make the read. Urgency. That's the name of the game right here. Urgency. Now, on it. He's on it. Touchdown. Beautiful throw.
He's our 95.7 The Game NFL insider, Brian Baldinger.
There's no do-rag today. He's got the gel in the hair. He's got the tie. He's got the white button up. He's got the suit. Baldy means business this morning at Baldy NFL right here on the Morning Roast, the smartest man in pro football. We love his breakdowns. Hashtag Baldy Breakdowns. He joins us every single week on the Morning Roast. And Baldy, I know you're in New York at MetLife Stadium. And look, we were talking to a lot of fans yesterday, and the vibe in the Bay Area was like the Niners lost against the Chargers on Sunday Night Football because people felt like they didn't put up enough points. But Baldy, you were at MetLife Stadium Sunday when the Giants went toe-to-toe with the Texans. Texans have one win, and they were in that football game. I bet you the Giants fans aren't thumbing their nose at a win like that. They're saying, hey, we're 7-2, and we got a big game next week against the Eagles, right, Baldy?
You listen, Bonte, you stack the win. You stack the win, you move on. You know, ugly, nail-biter, you get it any way you can because it's miserable in this business when you lose. It's just miserable. If you lose 2 in a row, it's really bad. The Packers had lost 5 in a row. They found a way to win a game the other day. The entire attitude changes. 49ers stack a second win in a row. Like, you don't feel like you can lose to anybody. And it doesn't matter if it takes a fourth quarter drive that takes 8 minutes to go down the field to punch it in from the 1 yard line. You get it any way that you can. And there was good execution on that fourth quarter drive to go win that game.
I'm looking at it. To me, the big story was, wow, Elijah Mitchell back. What a 1-2 punch. Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell, and reading who the hot hand was, his vision, Elijah, the patience, the cutbacks, the burst. I mean, Baldy, if they're going to have a 1-2 punch like this, they're going to be really hard to beat.
Well, you got to have 2. Nobody can do it with just 1. You got to have 2, and then the versatility that McCaffrey has as a receiver, and what you can do with them out in the perimeter. You can play both of them. We'll see situations where Debo, McCaffrey, and Elijah will all be out there together. But he's just got some thump to his game. When he's McCaffrey is good because he's just so quick and sees things so fast. But, Elijah's got some thump. And you can see it, and those are the kind of plays in the fourth quarter when he had the ball, 4 straight carries in a row, where you could see he's pushing the pile. It's getting hard to tackle. And do you want to tackle him? And so those kind of things show up.
No doubt. Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. I want to go over to the defense real quick before we shift back to the offense and Jimmy Garoppolo's performance. Second straight week, they've shut out a team in the second half, both L.A. teams. The Rams, which you were at SoFi, and, of course, the Chargers, who went right down the field of the opening drive to take a 7-0 lead. This defense flying around, and Nick Bosa again in the fourth quarter when it was time to make a play, when it was time to push the pocket. Boy, did 97 do that one, Baldy. He was relentless in that fourth quarter. And this defense, again, Holton serve. Holding the Chargers at 3 in the first half a couple times there after turnovers, after a deflected punt. This defense is coming to fly, and it starts with Nick Bosa, number 97.
For the second week, you're right. You're totally right, Bonte. They had 56 yards on 19 plays in the second half. So really what you see from D'Amico, though, is second week in a row now, in the third quarter, on key third downs, you see like heavy blitzes. And he's just not fooling around. And it's not a gamble. He's just going to affect the quarterback. And he did Herbert. Fred Warner came free and just chased him to the left. He's got nothing to the left. He's just throwing the ball on the ground. He's dialed it up a little bit. And it's not a big blitzing team. They don't have to be. But there is times when you want to get there fast and you want to affect the quarterback, especially this guy that's hard to get to the ground. He's hard to sack. He is their max protection. And so, force them to take the check down, the rally to the ball like they did. They got the field on third downs, and they were just forcing punts. And so that's 2 weeks in a row that they've done that. And you can see that that trend continuing if you got to really shut things down well, your offense kind of plays catch up a little bit.
It looked like Bosa was just back to himself. I mean, the week off, I think, really helped his explosion and his closeout. He just caved in that O-line late in that game.
Yeah. Had a tackle. I mean, it was a Keith stop on the run when they ran a fly sweep, on first down. And, you get a 6-yard loss. You read that play so fast. A lot of times they don't block that end because they don't think the end is going to see it and be able to react to a guy that's moving that fast. I think it was Carter that ran it. Mm-hmm. And so, to be able to take him down and just literally ragdoll him to the ground. You put him at 2nd and 16, that's a hard hole to come out of against the 49ers. And so that's what first down stops do, tackle for losses. All those things add up. It's just you're playing so far behind the sticks. It's just hard. It's just hard to overcome that sometimes.
Baldy, what you think of the ejection of Dre Greenlaw there and late in the first half?
Is that the second time this happened to him this year?
Yes, he's been ejected twice.
Yep.
I almost feel like they got like a number or a book on him.
A little Vontae.
I swear. Yep. I don't want to say that this is, hey, look out for 57. This guy hits late. He's cheap. But I almost feel like I've seen this happen before this year. And, I mean, those are judgment calls, but I kind of feel like this is traveling with them now. Like, I don't want to take any of the aggressiveness away from Dre Greenlaw because that's his game. He just runs and he hits. He hits what he sees. It's how he plays. I don't think he's got like this governor that can just slow him down built into a system. And so you just hope that that's it. You just hope that there isn't another one because then it's just going to be I feel like there's really going to be a book on him.
What do you think of the rules right now? Because we saw Heineke last night as an example where he's going to take a late knee. For those that didn't, listen, they're going to take a knee to try to blow the clock out, and boom, here comes Graham with like a late hit. And I don't know. Like, I understand there's the letter of the law and then there's the spirit of the law, and I feel like it's just so hard to be a defender these days. I don't know where I fall on this, Baldy. You're a guy, you're from the old school. Where do you fall down on all of these defensive penalties that are just all over every game, it feels like?
Well, they're just so random. Brandon, you could tell Brandon was not trying to hurt him. I mean, he was pulling off him. But, he's got one step before he hits him. You say, okay, you can stop yourself in one step. All right. I mean, good luck. I mean, he kind of pulled off him. He didn't really... I don't know. Like, that was just, that was a big play. Heineke's taking the sack. Eagles are going to get the ball back, right there with another shot at maybe going down the field, and, getting back, in a 26-21 game, you're thinking, okay, they can still go win it. I mean, it's just you give another team another possession, and that takes that possession away. I feel like, to your point, Joe, like the spirit of the law, like, don't take the chance for the Eagles go down and win the game away from them because of that hit right there.
Baldy, I watch all these plays and you're breaking it down so well. I always think about the John Lynch's, the Ronnie Lotts, the Steve Atwaters, and I'm thinking to myself, could these guys even play in today's game? I don't know if they could play in today's game. They'd be all kicked out, Baldy.
I remember I was doing a breakdown for Troy Polamalu when he was going in the Hall of Fame. And honestly, I couldn't put a lot of his plays in because it would have looked like I'm advocating, head hunting or, just aggressive hits or, indefensible receivers. It felt like every big play that he was making was one of those categories. And I felt like, well, I can't really do a breakdown on Polamalu and not show Polamalu. But I got to live with it. I mean, if I get a phone call from somebody, like, I got to live with it. But I want to show, like, what it was like. And if you go back to Atwater, and forget it. I mean, Ronnie Lott, I mean, forget it. Like, you can't even show those plays anymore. Even like Charles Woodson, some of these guys that are in the Hall, belong in the Hall, some of the greatest players that ever played a game, like, you've got to, like, really filter through it right now. To see if Brian Dawkins, you just got to filter through the whole thing.
I hate that.
Because it was such an intimidation game in the middle of the field. And now you see these guys, they're all getting 150 yards of catches every week and 2,000 yards receiving. And you're like, well, everybody's helpless to do anything to those guys in the middle of the field.
It's exactly, I mean, one of the seminal moments of Patrick Willis' arrival in the NFL was him knocking Brad Smith lights out in the middle of the field when he played for the Jets. Remember that? The Missouri quarterback turned to wide receiver. All right, when I look at this defense as a whole, I mean, Baldy, what is the weakness right now for this defense? I'm looking at that D-line, I'm like, there's a bunch of no-namers, Ridgeway and Jordan Willis and all these guys that no one even knew heading into the year, and it feels like that's the strength of the team still. So what's the weakness as we look toward the rest of the NFC? What could do them in?
Well, I mean, it's really, how you play the ball in the air. Like last night, if you just watched last night's game, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson beat Terry McLaurin to a ball in the air. It's a 50-50 ball. I mean, McLaurin can make that catch 9 out of 10 times.
Yep.
Chauncey jumped earlier. And you're going to take these shots down the field. And so you're going to get, it's perfect cover 2 performance by Gardner-Johnson. Slays underneath it. I mean, it's just how you play the ball in the air. Is it a pass interference penalty? Do they come down with the catches? I'm watching these games all day yesterday and studying them and how you play the ball in the air, Joe. So, you say, well, I don't care if you got all-world corners. Darius Slay's an all-world corner. He got beat last night. He's probably going to the Pro Bowl. Might even be an all-pro, corner this year. But, in this game, the way the ball is being thrown in the air, it's like, how do you play it? And what's the results of the play? Is it an interception? Is it defensive pass interference? Is it Christian Watson going 58 yards, on a go route? I mean, those plays kind of determine the outcome of a lot of these games. If you go back all the way to week 1 in Chicago, Justin Fields throwing that ball on the other side of the field to Dante Pettis. Yep. And you kind of just, you're concentrating on Fields. It's raining outside. It's bad weather. And there's Pettis getting behind you. And you give up the touchdown. Ultimately, you lose the game. But, those are the plays, Joe. You go, okay, what's the weakness? Well, it's the weakness for any of these teams and how they can get knocked out. Is a couple of those plays, key moments in the game, that can determine the game.
Let's focus on the defenses here in the NFC as we're talking to Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Roast as we do every single Tuesday at 7:30. I'm looking at the Vikings win in Buffalo. Big-time game, maybe the game of the year. I'm looking at the Eagles lose last night, and they got ball hawks on defense, as you just pointed out. Tampa Bay goes to Munich, Germany, and shuts down the Seattle Seahawks. Whose defense is playing the best right now in the NFC? Is it Tampa? Is it the Niners? Is it Seattle? Who do you like in the NFC right now when it comes to defensive football?
I like the 49ers. I just like the way, 2 shutouts in a row in the second half of games. I mean, you're coming out of the tunnel with the mindset that they're just not scoring. They're not going to move the ball. We're getting off the field on third downs. It's just a mindset right now. And so they're closing games out. And so, it's those are pretty good samples right there. But, I got to do the segment on NFL Network today, Pretenders, Contenders. Look, you don't know. Like, Green Bay couldn't get a deep ball forever. Like, 5 straight weeks, they couldn't get a deep ball. They hit 3 of them the other day, and the offense just opened up. And so, they beat a good team and a really good defense. And they ran the ball right down the Cowboys' throats for 207 yards. But, it's like, okay, Green Bay, do you take them serious? Yeah, you do. You have to. Because one thing about Aaron Rodgers is, he doesn't give up on these young guys. Christian Watson, he dropped 2 balls right in his hands early in the game. But I went back and watched 2014 with Devontae Adams. Devontae dropped balls as a rookie.
Yes.
But he just stayed with them, and he believed in him, and ultimately Devontae became the best receiver in the league. And I don't know that Watson could do that. But, if they get the deep ball going with the way that they're running and they got their offense line healthy, you can't count, even with their record right now, you can't count that team out right now.
What about Tampa Bay and Brady? It feels like they got their mojo back in 44 seconds against the LA Rams, and all of a sudden, they win 2 in a row and they're feeling good, Baldy.
Well, they started Rachaad White, a rookie running back out of Arizona State, for the first time this year. He gives them 100 yards rushing. They couldn't run 100 yards if you gave them 100 carries, in the first half of the season. Kid gets them 100 yards. Fournette's like to change the pace back. They got 3 rookies. They got a rookie running back, 2 rookie tight ends. All of a sudden, these kids are becoming players. They're blocking the edge. They're getting to the running back is hitting the safety through a hole. All of a sudden, the offense. Forget about Brady. They ran the ball 40-something times the other day. And they hadn't done that all year. So you're thinking, okay, if they find a running game and you get Brady and Julio healthy along with Godwin and Mike Evans, that could be a real problem.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. As you're talking about quarterbacks and the rapport with some of the people on offense, it does feel like, I look back at the Niners here, Ayuk and Jimmy are starting to develop that rapport. When you went to training camp, Ayuk was standing out every day in practice, and him and Trey Lance had a great rapport. I know a lot of the fans didn't see that because they weren't at practice. I'm starting to see Jimmy Garoppolo trust him more, and I feel like Jimmy is doing, I know there's times where he leaves you frustrated, but I feel like he's playing a pretty high level of ball right now. That rollout to Ray McCloud with that throw over the top, it's about as good of a play as you'll see from Jimmy. Where are you at on Jimmy Garoppolo's performance and his rapport with his weapons?
Well, I would agree with everything you said, Joe. The catch by Ayuk over the middle that got down to, he was pissed he didn't score.
Yeah.
McCaffrey ends up scoring there, in that great drive, 17 plays, I don't know, 77 yards, whatever it was. I mean, it was just a classic, take the lead, drive. Okay, this is where we're going to win the game. But he makes a catch in the middle of the field. I mean, he's part acrobat, part receiver. I mean, he's got to kind of contort his body. It's not perfect. But, his hang time in the air, his ability to adjust to the ball in the air is what you need in the middle of the field. I thought that McCaffrey did an unbelievable job playing without the ball. And just seeing the Chargers either taking Khalil Mack and, trying to widen McCaffrey coming out of the backfield, the double teamings of McCaffrey open things up for other guys. I thought McCaffrey was better without the ball than with the ball the other day. And it's just interesting watching how the Chargers defended McCaffrey and how it opened up so many other things for other players throughout the game. Kittle had a big catch in the middle of the field, and they're doubling McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. And so it's just something to watch, as a fan. Like, just watch 23 when he doesn't have the ball and see what the defense is doing. They were that concerned about him.
Baldy, you saw it at SoFi Stadium. McCaffrey runs a little flat route out of the backfield, and Kittle goes right down to see wide open. I can't think of the last time I saw Kittle wide open. So you're absolutely spot on with the gravity of Christian McCaffrey, and then you see Jawan Jennings making plays on third downs. We saw that late last season, that Jimmy trusts Jawan Jennings, a big wide receiver, not the fastest guy, but he made 2 clutch third down catches on that drive that you cited there in the fourth quarter.
I remember I asked Jimmy about Jawan last year before a game. And I go, well, what is it about him? Does he have like some suddenness to him? He goes, hell no. He's slow. But he runs good routes and like he's always open. And so those 2 third downs in that big drive, one of them was on timing. I mean, it's just an out. I mean, he comes in motion, runs, kind of a bow out. The ball's out of Jimmy's hands before he comes out of his break, and he's right there. He's a big target, a bigger body at that position. Not sudden, not really, doesn't have a burst. Probably not going to run by a lot of people, but he gets open. And, he's got a big wingspan. So Jimmy trusts him. He made those 2 huge third down receptions to keep that drive alive.
Baldy, I don't necessarily focus on other teams' special teams. I'm looking at the Niners, and last year they were so bad, and then in the big game against Green Bay, they show up with a block punt, right? Yeah. The other night, they miss an extra point, and that ends up, playing a factor at the end of the game. They get a punt blocked, even though, it obviously went forward. Is that going to be a problem for them moving forward, or is just special teams down across the league? Like, as you look at it, because I'm watching every week, and I'm like, God, it really worries me, special teams.
Well, they always say special teams are a third of the game, and they really are. Not just because a third of the big plays happen on special teams. It's because that's how much time you have to spend on them. Because if you don't, and if they are neglected, then punts do get blocked. Then extra points aren't made because of the way the snap, hold, the kick, the follow through, all the field conditions always matter. San Francisco's never going to have a great field in December or January. I hope those people that work on the field don't, take my phone here. But Chicago, I mean, wherever you got to go, Green Bay, the field's not going to be good, at that time of the year in so many places. And so that plays a part. But you always, like me, I just always worry about you get to bad weather, just fielding punts. Just simply fielding punts or not fielding it and letting the ball bounce and losing 30 yards. Like, if I was the head coach, I would never be doing anything else but when it's a special team play, but watching the special teams. I wouldn't be talking to my quarterback because special teams just, it changes the game when you screw up.
It does. I mean, it lost Green Bay a game last year in the divisional round against the 49ers.
They fired the special teams coach as soon as the game was over.
Yeah, exactly. The New York Giants, 2011, Kyle Williams.
To this
talking
day,
about wet fields and muddy fields at Candlestick Park. Yeah, it's
Baldy. To this day, NFC Championship game, he muffed the 2 punts. I said after the first one, I said, why are you even putting anyone back there? If it falls at the 1, so be it. Like, I'm at that point. Like,
Right.
I'm still triggered 10, 11 years later where I'm like, catch it. Like, I don't know.
Baldy, when they announced that Ted Ginn Jr. was inactive that day, I said, oh, my Lord. Because Kyle Williams early that season, you probably remember up in Seattle, he returned the kickoff and almost got his neck broken. I'm like, dear God, I don't know if this guy's the return guy.
Hey, I tell you what, you know how it still needles you, Joe?
Yes.
I tell you, my rookie year, we're playing the Washington, back then the Redskins, NFC Championship game. We're at RFK. We got a rookie punt returner who was complete knucklehead. I don't even want to say his name. He was only back there because he was the first-round draft pick of us. And he muffed a punt at the 2-yard line. Washington recovers it. Like, I can still hear "Hail to the Redskins" in my head to this day. It changed the whole game. We blew out the Washington in the middle of the season. And we lost the NFC Championship game. And that muffed punt down there inside the 5. Why are you feeling the punt inside the 5?
It's unbelievable.
Like, everybody, Pop Warner, I would yell at a kid if he fielded a punt inside the 10. Like, just let it go.
Yeah, special teams drives me crazy. I don't even want to think about it right now, Baldy. But I do want to think about the Arizona Cardinals, who the Niners will tangle with in Mexico City. Look, I watched the Hard Knocks. Arizona's got all this talent.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on in Arizona, but you know what? They got a feel-good game against the Rams at SoFi Stadium, 27-17, and I know Kyler didn't play. What should we expect? It's a divisional game. What can we expect from the Cardinals in Mexico City next Monday night?
Well, so tell me if I'm right or wrong in this. You remember when Josh Rosen was the quarterback before Cliff Kingsbury came there?
Yeah.
They beat the 49ers twice that year.
Yes,
First play of the game.
Yeah, they went Christian
Two
Kirk,
times.
80 yards, first play of the game.
Yeah, 75 yards, first play of the game.
I'm just telling look, Josh Rosen's not there, and Kyle, the coach isn't there, all that stuff. But when you watch Arizona play, all you see is talent.
Yeah.
Honestly. It might not always be coordinated. The coach, the defense coordinator, Vance Joseph, is a great coordinator. Like, his blitzes, he might blitz too much, I don't know, but they've got talent, man. If you look at,
Simmons,
you look
Budda
at the
Baker.
safeties, Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker, like, those guys just fly to the football. Like, they got 2 linebackers, Isaiah Simmons, and Xavier Collins. They both can run. They've got talent. Now, I don't know if Hollywood Brown is back yet, and what's going on with DeAndre Hopkins and the quarterback. I tell you this, I wouldn't underestimate Colt McCoy is Taylor Heineke.
He beat him last year, Baldy.
He destroyed
He beat the Niners last year at Levi Stadium.
Looked like Montana.
Yeah, he threw a bomb. I was like, man, is that Roger Staubach or Colt McCoy? And then Rondale Moore's a speedster.
Look, you go to Mexico City, it's at altitude. Like, you got to put your game face on. Like, you cannot underestimate this team. I saw them get beat by Kansas City so bad week 1. You wondered if they were, like I said, somebody was like, some sports line, I'm like, they're going to put a 40 burger up on Arizona. It's going to be 40. And sure enough, it was like 44 or something. And Mahomes took it easy on them. And they put up, and you go, oh, this, and then they come back and they win. Like, you can't count that team out. Just when you think the coach, the organization, just the infighting or whatever's going on, drama's happening, like, you can't. You just have to just not pay attention to any of it.
We're up against it, Baldy. I want to know where you're going to be this weekend. But first, quick thoughts on Jeff Saturday and the Colts going to Las Vegas and beating the Raiders. I mean, I've seen a lot of bad Raider losses, especially when they were in Oakland, right here in the Bay Area. That may be the worst loss I've ever seen for the Raiders in the last 25 years.
It broke our technical engineer's heart right here.
Joe Spadoni.
His spirit is broken.
Well, I give Jeff Saturday credit. I mean, they got the running back going, and they fixed the offense line. They put a new right guard in there. They got a couple tight ends in there that figured out how to block. And Quentin Nelson looked like Quentin Nelson. And the J train got rolling, and that 66-yard run. I mean, he made. I don't know where the safety was going. Like, maybe he was like, going like this.
Blindfolded.
I'm not sure. But maybe he had a blindfold on, because that was the worst angle I've ever seen. But they give up the big run, and Matt Ryan looked like Matt Ryan. I mean, he ran for 39 yards.
I know, that's incredible.
Like Matt Ryan, usually you figure that quarterback at that age of his career, like, he's just going out of bounds. Like, he cut inside a defender and kept going. like he was, Justin Fields or something. It was ridiculous.
Oh, man. Last one. Where are you going to be at this week in Baltimore before we let
I'm
you go?
going to be in Buffalo. I'm going to be in Buffalo this week. See if they can bounce back after that ugly defeat the other day.
Who do they have, Buffalo? Who
They play Cleveland.
Ooh.
Buffalo, Cleveland.
Okay. Cleveland. I don't know what the hell's going on with Cleveland.
Are
man.
you
They can't stop the
real
run
quick
anything.
swan diving off of a Volkswagen onto
don't do it,
a
Baldy.
table or what?
Don't do
No,
it,
I'm not
Baldy.
doing that. I'm not doing that. No, I saw my buddy Michael Robinson do that, and I'm going, I know that might be, you could do that if you drank half a keg, but like I'm not drinking half a keg, and I just don't want to end up, on the Baldinger side of myself. I just don't want to do it.
No, don't do it, Baldy.
We miss
I'll
you,
take
buddy.
a photo of somebody doing it.
No doubt about it. Baldy, you're the best,
See
man.
you,
Can't
dude.
wait to talk to you next week. Should be a
Thanks,
good
guys.
one. I'm glad you fired up the Niner fan base. Arizona and the Niners, man. Division game. Not easy.
Yep.
All right, Baldy.
Yep.
See ya.
See you guys.
At Baldy.